$184 silver. You must be thinking this is clickbait. Well, stay with me and I'll show you how I get to that number. You might arrive at a different number when you see the maths, but it is possible that silver could go to this figure literally overnight. When will it happen? Well, there's not going to be any official warning. Those who are in the know will be sworn to secrecy. However, as is always the case, there will be many people involved in the planning, and the secret is bound to leak out. Someone will tell their partner will tell their dad, the dad will tell his mates at the next barbecue, and so on. And of course, dad's mates are all going to pile into gold. Pretty soon, there'll be a large group of people in the know who were never supposed to know. But you won't know, except you're hearing it here, of Secretary to the Treasury in the United States. It's the most important position in the country when it comes to the managing the finances of the United States. Based on the amount of money being managed, it's a position which is many times more important than Jerome Powell's position as head of the Federal Reserve. Secretary of the Treasury is literally the most important position in the United States when it comes to finance. So Scott Bessent is the current Secretary to the Treasury. He succeeded Janet Yellen. Scott Bessent was sworn in as Secretary to the Treasury on January the 28th, 2025 this year. A few days later, in his new position as Secretary of the Treasury, he said the following words, and I quote, "We're going to monetize the asset side of the US balance sheet for the American people." Now, what does that mean? Well, for those who understand what the balance sheet is and what the assets are, there's one asset he must be talking about, at least everybody thinks so, and that is the most liquid and the most undervalued asset on the Treasury's balance sheet. And that asset is 261.5 million ounces of gold, which is valued by the Treasury at the statutory price of $42.22. That's a price which was set by law in 1972. So those 261.5 million ounces at $42.22 are worth $11 billion. So the questions everybody's asking, and I'll come back to all these questions shortly, but I'll read the questions out. 1, when will it happen? 2, what will be the new gold price? 3, how will it happen? 4, will they take my gold, just like they did in 1933? Will they confiscate it? Don't forget, 1934, 1 year after they confiscated people's gold, they raised the price from $20 to $35 an ounce, an increase of 69% in one night. How will it affect the price of silver and other precious metals? Now, that's what you want to hear about, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you how I get to my $184 price. Gold, we'll take the total cash available divided by the number of ounces of silver which would be sold, and we see that we arrive at a price of $184.50 an ounce. Now, of course, there were 3 assumptions in there. We're assuming that 3% of the gold is redeemed for $15,000 at the Treasury. We're assuming half the money goes into silver, and we're assuming that only 10% of silver holders decide to sell their silver. Change any of these parameters and you'll get to a different number. But I think that's a good guess at $184.50 per ounce. Now, the last question we've got to ask is, what would happen if they do this exercise? Will it cause a currency collapse? Will there be massive inflation? In my opinion, it's very unlikely. So goods are not priced in gold. Services are not priced in gold. They're priced in dollars. And after all, the gold price has nearly doubled in the last 2 years, and it's had very little effect on the prices at all. The reason prices go up is because the level of government debt and the amount of cash in circulation is rising, and that causes a general rise in retail prices and also causes a general rise in the gold price. But the gold price on its own going up won't cause retail prices to rise. They're not connected. I mean, and we've seen that as evidence. We've seen the gold price has gone up and up and up, but it's been going up because of the extra debt and the extra cash in circulation. It's not been the gold price which has been dragging up retail prices, consumer prices. And let's just put the this into perspective. This exercise would generate $3.9 trillion. You won't know when. Your only warning sign will be a rapidly rising gold price without any apparent reason. There'll be no accompanying story. No wars, no surge in inflation, no default. But the question is still when. Well, the button's likely to be pushed when the economy needs a stimulus. Or it could be pushed when some emergency action is needed due to some event, such as a Liz Truss moment. Liz Truss moment in the UK was a bond crisis, a gilts crisis, so it might be a crisis in the US Treasury market. The second question is, what will be the new gold price? Well, we've heard all kinds of figures from the current price of $3,300 all the way up to $150,000. The most popular quoted figure is $20,000 an ounce. I have my reason to think that's probably going to be a little bit too high. I think the figure will be $15,000 an ounce. It's a guess. I don't have inside information. But $15,000 is about 4.5 times higher than today's price of $3,300. Now, each price has its pros and its cons. But any price, from the present price of $3,300 all the way up to the highest possible figure, is going to create a profit for the Treasury, and it's also going to create a lot of newly printed cash for the Treasury if it's done right, yet allowing the Treasury to keep the gold. And I'm going to describe in a minute how, with a little bit of accounting magic, the Treasury can create trillions of dollars of newly spendable money, which can eliminate the budget deficit for the next 2 years, can reduce government debt, and allow the Treasury to keep its gold. And that absolutely is possible.
What do you think of Clive's take? Are his assumptions reasonable, and will silver reach $185 per ounce, or is all of this just bollocks? He says that gold will be revalued to $15,000 and that a big chunk of the profits will be dumped into silver. What do you think of this? Do you agree with him? Post in the comment section down below your take, and watch this video right here because it's a perfect fit for you, and I'll see you on the other side.